So here we go again with a new machine. Now our machine today will be GoldenEye CTF. So the GoldenEye CTF here is our new machine today, and this machine is kind of OSCP type machine. So as you can see, the author says that the machine is OSCP type and it doesn't require any kind or type of exploit development or buffer overflows, unfortunately. Because we always look for advanced exploits to teach the listener or the audience about new exploits so they can advance their level in pen testing. So anyway, let's jump here and begin our work. So first thing you do is net discover. You specify the interface and you specify the range of your network. This is my range. Net discovers code. Okay, so the machine IP address ends with 24, so we scan with nmap. So now we are enumerating the open ports and the running protocols to see which one we can take advantage and enumerate in order to take or to find exploit. Okay, so it seems that we got many ports, open ports. So here we have 25 for SMTP, 80, and we have POP3 or SSL POP3, and we have regular POP3. So among these ports, what do you think we should get started? I mean, which one we should use and start with? So I think that the port 80 is the one that we should start with. So we go ahead and type the IP address of the machine. Okay, so we are presented with a screen and some writings. So it says here that this is the interface of GoldenEye Top Secret Access, and it says we need to go to SAV home. Okay, so in order to log in, but we might ask what are the credentials that we should use in order to log in. So the first step is to view the page source, and here you notice that there is the script source or the script that is used to display those writings is terminal.js. Following your curiosity, click on terminal.js and you will find that there is a note here. It says, Boris, make sure you update your default password. Okay, so here's an encoded password. So you start after the slash and don't forget the semicolon here. Copy the password. So the first thing you do is to decode the password, but you might think what's the kind of encoding that has been used here. So then we go to Perp Suite and Decoder tab, of course. So as you can see, if you click on decode and HTML, so you decode this as HTML. Okay, don't click on plain or URL, just click on HTML. So you will have the password invisible hacker. but what is the user? So if you go back here, you will see that the text here, or the note, has been written or typed for Boris. So common sense says that Boris is the user. So I noted down here the username and the password. So this next thing we do is follow the hint or the instructions. It's not a hint. Okay. Okay. So before seeing this interface or the video, you will see a basic HTTP authentication. So simply you type the username Boris and the password invisible hacker that we have just figured out, but it didn't display authentication for me because I have authenticated before, so that's why I didn't see any kind of authentication here. So if you are doing this for the first time, you will see that you will have basic authentication here. Just type Boris and the password invisible hacker, which is here, in order to see the interface here. Okay, so there is a note here saying that blah 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 GoldenEye CTF, and remember, here's the hint. Since security by OSCP is very effective, we have configured our POP3 servers to run on a very high non-default port. So the hint here says that you need to use POP3. Okay, but as with everyone curious, let's take a look at the source code of the page. So not from here, I think, from here. So view page source. Okay, so there is something here. Let's go down. Okay, so here is your second hint, which is qualified GoldenEye network operator supervisors are Natalia and Boris. So those are your potential usernames that you need to brute force. Okay, so now we have Natalia, Boris as usernames, and next thing, and the hint said that you need to use POP3. So your next step is, what do you think? It's Hydra, brute force, the Natalia and Boris passwords. So click X here, going back to our command line. Okay, so Hydra, or before Hydra, let's go back here and type Boris, save. So the command would be Hydra. You specify the user file, which is users.txt. Specify the password, and the word list that you're gonna use is called fast track. Okay, the fast track word list, and we'll put down the link for this word list. This is a word list that will work. Don't use rockq.txt because it's not gonna work. Okay, so use fasttrack.txt, and I will put down the link for the word list so you can download the word list and use it right away. So so here specify the path, which is in my desktop, fast.txt. Okay, now so you need to specify the service. Okay, so the service would be POP3s. Why S? Because the server is running on POP3 SSL, as you notice here. So you need to specify the protocol POP3s for SSL and the port. Specify the IP address of the machine. and don't forget to include the port. Okay, so this is your command. Okay, so the right command you need to type is this command, and after hitting enter you will get the password for both Boris and Natalia. And again, as I do in every video, I will not waste time cracking the password as I did this before to save time on you and me. So I will leave you with the command here. You just need to hit enter with the right word list and the right configurations here. You will get the password for Boris and Natalia. Okay, so we go back. So what are the passwords for Natalia and Boris? The password for Natalia will be bird, and the password for Boris will be secret1 exclamation mark. Okay. So what do we need to do now? We need now to log in to POP3 as the hint said in the interface of the GoldenEye. So now we need to interact with POP3 server. How we can do this is using by netcat. So netcat, basically you can use netcat to interact with POP3, SMTP, or Telnet. Okay? So we type netcat, the IP address. The port will be 55007. So the port we use is this one here. Okay. But you can use the SSL POP3, or you can use the POP3 regular POP3. What's the difference? The difference is you need to encode the passwords if you want to use SSL. If you want to use the regular plain POP3 server, you just need basic authentication. Okay, so enter. So here we are presented with the welcome screen from POP3 server. So what do we need now? How we can know the right commands? Again, I will put down a link which points to a page that displays and shows the POP3 commands that you can use to interact with any POP3 server. So the first thing you do is to authenticate. The command for this is auth. Then you specify the user which you want to log in with. So user, let's first try with Boris. Okay, the password will be secret1. Right. So now, in order to see the emails that Boris has received, we write list with capital, all capital letter. So we now receive 3 emails, number 3 to 1. How to read those emails is by writing read. We start with 1. So the first email, it says, Boris, this is the admin. You can electronically communicate to coworkers and students here. I'm not going to scan emails for security risk, but because I trust you and the other admins here. Clearly, as you can see, there is nothing handy here. So we go ahead and proceed to the second letter. The second letter is, Boris, I can break your codes. Again, it's useless. So proceed to the third letter. Okay, the third letter has the fruit. Your cooperation with our syndicate will pay off big. Attached are the final access codes. So we have attachments. But clearly the emails here or the message doesn't show any clear indication of attachments. As you can see, if you read, let me highlight. So you see here we have only message. There is no any mention or indication for attachment presence. So your next step is, and yes, it's sorry to ditch Boris and go ahead and proceed with Natalia. So now we quit authentication again, this time with Natalia. Password. Password will be perfect. So list. We have only 2 messages. Let's retrieve one by one. So Natalia, let me highlight. Natalia, please, you need to stop breaking Boris codes. Also, you are GNO supervisor for training. I will email you once a student is designated to you. Also, be cautious of possible network breaches. We have intel that GoldenEye is being sought after by a crime syndicate named Janus. So you see there is no hint here except Janus. So Janus might be used as a user if you were on a regular OSCP machine. Be careful and pay attention to users here. So this user has not been used in this machine, but during regular OSCP or regular CTF you might want to pay attention to regular names. So this name might be used, or this context, a mention of a name in this context might come handy for brute force. So again, this email has nothing for us. So let's go to RTR, retrieve RTR2. So here's the fruit. So the email says, okay Natalia, I have a new student for you. And this is a new system. Please let me or Boris know if you see any config issues, especially visitors related to security. Even if it is not, just enter it in under the guise of security. It will get the change order escalated without much hassle. So okay, user credentials are. So here we have user credentials. Okay, Boris verified her. Basically, those are the credentials for students. Okay, in the regular training GoldenEye site. So again, the note here. And if you didn't have the URL on our internal domain, this is the URL. So this is the URL we need to navigate to and use the credential pairs. But before, make sure to edit your host file since you usually work remote off network. Since you are a Linux user, just point the server's IP to server9.station.com. So how can we do this? So first we need to edit the host file. Quit. The next step is to nano etc hosts. So in the host file you need to modify, or not modify, to add a line here and specify the domain name that is mentioned in the message, and corresponding the IP address will be the IP address of the target machine. So unless you do this, your navigation to this domain will be a waste of time. So we go back. Let's take this directory and go. Seems taking time. I hate this. Maybe it will be browser. Yes, I forgot purpose switch. So let me turn. Oh no. I thought that the set is on, but it's off. So let's. Okay, great. So let me close Burp Suite here. And let's remove the proxy configurations. So armed with the credentials, first thing we're gonna do is log in. So here the credentials are Xenia. Yeah, I forgot to copy the X. So X and the password. Login. Okay. So now here is the account for the student Xenia. Okay. So you go ahead and explore everything we have: courses, my profile, site pages. Okay. So as a hacker or pen testers, or forget about pen testers, because as a pen testers you will not be allowed to have access to these accounts if you are doing pen testing for organizations. So as a hacker or CTFers, first thing you notice is my private files. So go to private files. We see nothing. Manage my private files. Okay, so nothing here. Messages. Your contact list is empty. Great. So blogs. My home. So miscellaneous, Geno, intro. Site pages. Xenia. Let's see what we have here. So it appears we have nothing here. Go to site pages, tags. Okay, those are written by me. Intro. So I think we should have a message here. Reset conversations. Well, so here we have a message from Dr. Doc. Dr. Doc, let's see what we have. So Dr. Doc here, Doc, it's not Doc, sorry. So here the Dr. Doc sent a message to Xenia. It says, as a new contractor or GoldenEye training, I welcome you, blah blah blah. My email username is Doc. Okay, so Dr. Doc has a username which is Doc. So Doc, as with every challenge, whenever you see a name, it should be a user. So your next step is to brute force the password for Doc. But which password? Of course, it's the email password, since we are dealing with POP3. So again, go back to Hydra. So Hydra minus L Doc, and the word list will be, as we said, fast track. You specify the word list. Word list. Fast track xt POP3s 19168 port 5500 and 6, and after you click enter you will have the password. Okay, just let's go here. The password will be GOAT. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for Dr. Dog. He has the password GOAT, so when I said dog, I think it fits with the password GOAT. Okay, so let's cancel this. And the next step will be going to the POP3 server to enumerate what Dr. Dog has received from the others. Netcuts 24 55007 authenticate now. Okay, user doc password. So list, so doc or Dr. Doc has only one message. Let's see what he has with counter. So let's read the message. So James, if you are reading this, congrats, you have gotten this far. You know how to droid craft works. Okay, because I don't go to our training site and log into my account. Dig until you can exfiltrate further information. So here we have clear text passwords, username Dr. Doc and password for England. So what's the next step? The next step is going to the site and logging out. Now you log in, go back, so the user will be Dr. Doc. I think I misspelled the name, it's Doc for Doc. So for England, okay, logging. So now we are Dr. Doc. So Dr. Doc, what he has for us? Courses, my profile, site pages. Again, CTF would go for private files. Long story short. For James, so secret, yes. So you click on secret, you save the file. You know, I had the file, so I don't need to save. So you save the file, you go back, open the secrets. The secret, here it is. So 007, oh my gosh. I was able to capture this application's admin credentials through clear text. Text throughout most of the applications within the GoldenEye servers are scanned, so it cannot add the credentials here. So it says if you want to grab the credential for the admin. Why? Because it says here application admin credentials. So you need to go to this directory to download the image and extract the credentials. So 192.168.119.24, paste. Be sure to navigate to the image using the original IP address, not this domain. So you know I had picture, so I don't need to save again. Save the image. Okay. Go back. Quit. Clear. So, what do you think now we need to what to do? Now we need to find the EXIF metadata within the picture, because it's the only way this picture would have a password. So EXIF go. Great. So as you can see from the description, it is here base64 encoded password. So echo paste base64 decode. So here it is. Here is the password. So this is the password you need for whom? For the admin. So go back and we log out. Login. Admin. Now here comes the serious and the great work. The nitty-gritty you need to have is right now. We start right now. So now you are authenticated as admin. Okay. So the next step here is to have shell. This is the stage in which you need to have shell access. Okay. So this is the last journey of navigating and jumping between passwords. Okay. So here you have to dig through and find a way to gain shell access. So as an admin, your first thing to do is to see if the Moodle server version is vulnerable, but for this challenge it is not. Okay, it has a couple of vulnerabilities, but those vulnerabilities are not useful and or handy or fruitful for this challenge. But I am telling you that because the first thing you do on any web application is to enumerate the version of the web application. So let's see how we can grasp or have the version of this application. Go inside administration here, go to server, and from server we click on environment. So in the environment here you can see the model version. Okay, so I will tell you how to know if the model version is vulnerable or not by doing search exploit and type model. So as you can see we have a couple of firms, okay, but the current version is 223 and none of those apply to 223 as you can see. Okay, so as I said, it's not useful here, but it's your job to do this whenever pen testing or CTFing. Okay. So the next foothold is go to system paths. So if you go to system paths, the first thing you would notice is my footprint here, which is the Python reverse shell that I have applied here. So basically this is the Python reverse shell. It is not here from the beginning, so you will not see this if you are doing the challenge for the first time. So instead you will see here a script, or I mean a path to a program called spell. Okay, so the path here is the path to the program or the application spell. Spell would check or do spell checking on blog posts or words you type within the web application. So here the main misconfiguration here, it's not vulnerability. So the misconfiguration here is you can modify the path to the applications. Okay, so suppose that, or let's not suppose, what I did here is I replaced the path. So for example you can see the path to do is also an application. That will do something like user can do this, pages, that's the directory content will much faster. So I can now replace those paths with reverse shells. Okay, so in a regular environment or in a regular pen testing or for an organization or corporation, I had seen some companies that fallen to these kind of misconfigurations. So basically what we found before that, we see the same misconfiguration here, that anyone can run through these boxes here and change it to whatever he wants. So during your pen testing you want to notify the company or the corporation that they need to restrict the rights or privilege to modify those paths to only privileged accounts. Okay, since we are on admin accounts here, we can modify, but the admin account in a regular company or corporation needs not to be cracked. Okay, so best practice is to use strong password and to use kind of two-step authentication. So after if I click on save changes, it would require me to do something else other than the changes here. So for example, if I click save changes, so before changing the path to the reverse shell in a secure context, I am speaking, before saving changes, it would say that, for example, sending a code to your phone or doing kind of tokens or additional codes, additional passwords, additional tokens from the let's say cars, whatever. So they need two-step authentication here in case the admin account has been cracked. So coming back to our context here, what you need to do here is you replace the path to SPL application to a reverse shell. From where you get reverse shell, let me show you. So we go to our friend, Pentest Monkey, and we can see here a couple of reverse shells, among which I selected Python. Okay, so we take Python here, I go back, we paste Python here, and next we need to modify the Python reverse shell. So you need here to modify and put your IP address here and the port on which your machine will be listening. Don't forget this part, because unless this part, or unless you do this part, the shell will not work. Okay, save it changes. Great. After saving changes here, what do we need to do? How can we spawn this shell? Okay, let's first set up our listener. Okay, first step done. Since we are dealing with a spell checking application, what we need to do is to go to a place here. We need to find a place here in the application that does some kind of blogging, writing, so you can find a button to spell check our words. So let's go and find courses, nothing, my profile, site pages. So flags here is interesting. Add a new entry. So if you click on whatever and whatever, so before clicking save it changes, don't be duped to click save it changes. Before what we need to do is to spell check, because when you spell check this post here, it will invoke or summon the spell check application. But since we have modified the path to the spell check application, it will invoke our shell. So where's the button here? Here's the button. When you click this button, it will invoke the spell check. But in our case, since we modified the spell check, it will invoke the shell, and you should now get shell. Let's see, add monitor. Spell check. Okay, you can see now you have shell. Minimize. Now the next step is to what? Of course, you say it. Spawn pty shell. Already the regular damn www data. So go to home. So as you can see, we have Boris, Natalia. But I don't want to waste your time. Let's jump off directly to the right path to have root. So first you need to go to temp. Okay. Now, as you enumerate the system, you need to know the version of the kernel. So the version here is 3.13.0, which is vulnerable or turned out to be vulnerable. How can you know? So exploit -w for the URL if you want to grasp the URL of the exploit. So -w, and we type kernel oops, not here. We need to do this on our command line. Here we go, again we are messing with the okay, so search exploit. So here we have two kinds of exploits. You grab this, copy, here's your exploit. You know, and you say I have downloaded the exploit, so I don't need to do it again. So you download the exploit and to your machine. Okay, so let me download the machine with the exploit because I want to clarify something. Download. Why download here? Let's go to copy here and great. Okay, so the exploit now is on our machine. Okay, next thing you need to move the file to your server, to your HTTP server, which is var, I'm sorry, move 37292xc to, okay, and you know I have moved the exploit. I don't need to do this before, do this again. So again, you type this command, you transfer the exploit to your HTTP server. Make sure that your Apache server is running. Okay, don't forget this. Now you may ask why I didn't compile the exploit in my machine as we got used to. We used to compile the exploit in our machine, but let me tell you that the machine here, the target machine, doesn't have GCC, which so as you can see, GCC is not installed. So even if we compile the exploit on our machine, it's not gonna work on the target machine. Why? Because GCC is not installed on the target machine. So it might work here, but on the Golden CTF it's not gonna run. What's the solution here? Well, the solution is there is an alternative to GCC, which is CC. So type CC here. So as you can see, the machine has CC installed, which is an alternative compiler to GCC. So now we need to compile the exploit using CC instead of GCC. Okay. So now you go ahead and retrieve the exploit to the GoldenEye CTF. So HTTP. Here is my IP address, the IP address of the attacking machine. Okay, no. 37292. Enter to download. Okay, but I don't enter because I downloaded the exploit. So LSLA. Okay, your next step now, after you have the exploit here right now, your next step is to compile the exploit using CC. But before you compile the exploit, you need to modify the exploit. So nano so we go back to our nano. So the thing we need to modify here is here. So you see here that the exploit uses GCC. Before moving the exploit to your Golden CTF machine, you just need to modify this to be CC. Okay, you click save. Okay, now then you go back to the target machine, typing CC the exploit, and then you type the compiled version, which is, let's say, exploit 2. Now, so here you have exploit 2. Give it permissions. Run. ID. Congratulations, you got root. So now you have root. Okay. Go to cd root. Cat file txt. What? So here's your flag. And this is basically you would find in a step. Okay. So here's the codes and the flag. You just need to go here. Let's go. So here's the congrats message. So congratulations, you got the machine and you learned 2 things. Let's discuss 2 things here. So basically in this machine we learned 2 things. The first one is not to leave privileged tasks, or like for example, where's it? Servers. Okay, server. As we can see here, system pass. Yes. So let's go to servers. Okay, never mind. So in this machine you will learn that not to leave system paths or like privileged tasks to non-privileged users, and make sure that every task or every configuration in your system is, like critical configurations, like the one we exploited today are critical configurations. So we need, when possible, to deploy two-factor authentication or two-step authentication to make sure that even when privileged accounts like admin, in case is cracked, the attacker or the perpetrator cannot commit any changes or unintended change on the system. So that's basically the only thing that I think worth mentioning at the end of the challenge. So congratulations, you got the machine, and I hope you learned a lot from this machine. So see you in the next video.